Ladies and gentlemen, our next honoree is no stranger to this community. His big, booming voice was his trademark, and his longevity to many community organizations tells you what kind of person he was. Well-respected, very much liked. WHIO loved him, and so did many more. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Smith.
Guess what? Coming up, we've got Tony Williams and the Commodores. We'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
There is one word to describe Rick Smith: enthusiastic. He loved the Dayton area, and he loved working at Channel 7.
Oh, Rick, you up there in the booth? Open his mic.
I'm here, and Gil's here with me.
Yeah,
Rick started his career at WHIO-TV in August of 1974 as an announcer and television personality. He co-hosted Summertime 79, The Gil Whitney Show, Accent On, and the Shaneling Movies for Night People.
Welcome to WHIO TV Reports.
The serious side of Rick Smith came shining through when he hosted WHIO Reports. He highlighted many local politicians, civic and religious leaders on our community affairs program. Most of all, we'll remember his life.
Thank you very much.
Rick lived only 54 years, but he did a lot of living in those years, leaving his mark on this community and this television station.
Whenever he would interview you or talk to you, you could tell it wasn't just for the story. He genuinely cared about what was going on in the community. So he will be missed, but I think his life is one that we should celebrate.
This is how it all started. Rick Smith behind the microphone at WDAO Radio. He started working in high school, then eventually became a DJ and music director at WDAO in the late 60s and early 70s. Rick paved the way for today's African Americans on radio.
AM 1210 WDAO.
Much of what we do today is there because of people like Rick Smith.
And there was no one quite like Rick.
He was just a jolly person, that big bass voice of his.
But is it come along with
Willie Walker first met Rick in 1985 when Walker became president of the Urban League, and Rick was on the board.
He said, Willie Walker, look, what do you know about Dayton? Let me tell you a few things about Dayton.
Rick not only knew Dayton, but countless people in Dayton knew Rick, whether it was through community work.
Rick Smith was what you would consider an unsung hero, that he did his work quietly, he moved about, but he made a difference.
He was involved in civic activities through the Elks.
We just gonna miss him, I tell you, we loved him.
First of all, man.
And 32 years ago, TV viewers fell in love with Rick when he joined WHIO-TV as an announcer.
Anyway, it's the music of the Keepers, and I'll feature Shalimar.
Most distinguishing thing about Ricky Smith was this big, booming voice.
Here's your host, Larry Bailey.
Rick's love for music shone on WHIO's Easy Summer Night Show. His TV career ended in management as the newsroom's assignment editor. Rick brightened lives and made people laugh. He lived life to the fullest, and he will be truly missed.
Ricky was from Richmond, Indiana, and has a soft spot in his heart for Richmond. But Ricky loved Dayton. This was his home. He invested his life here, his time here. He raised his family here with his wife Carmelita. He loved it. Ricky always had a saying for all of us in news, and there's several things we'll remember about Rick Smith. But Rick always started the day saying, for us to have a good day, somebody else is going to have a bad day, and we need to remember that our story is about people and keep them in mind. So Ricky always kept us grounded.
Rick was just so proud, of the fact that he was working at the station and he had the opportunity that he had. So he was kind of like a trailblazer there at the station for African Americans, and he got to do his little production thing, and he was just a very proud man to be in that area, which for many years was African American had been excluded.
When Rick was in this room, there was always a presence. I'm looking directly at his little cubicle over there. There was always a presence, and you knew that Rick was there, whether you saw him or heard him or not. I'm proud to have worked with him.
Rick was active in the community, civic activities, and church, and Reverend Darrell Ward says, "We will never know why God took Rick at such a young age, but we do know Rick's in a better place."
The angels are laughing with Ricky. I really believe that.
Exactly, even in heaven. Now,
even in heaven, he's cracking everybody up.
Come on, everybody. Rick, keep smiling.
Dayton Area Broadcasters Hall of Fame is pleased to induct posthumously Ricky Smith into its 2007 class.
Carmelita and I just touched hands because we talked about this earlier, and she said, Jim, whatever you do, do not make this another funeral, because we have had that, and it hurt. And tonight should be a celebration of Rick, and I think it is. I talked to a number of people about Rick in coming here tonight, and one of them was WHIO TV Vice President General Manager Harry Delaney. He and I were talking last week about him, and he said he was a character. That is putting it mildly. He said he lightened up all the AM production meetings, which is true. And Ted Ryan, in summary, I told you I was going to quote you. Ted Ryan, his very first boss at WHIO TV, said, Ricky Smith was WHIO TV's first invisible employee. I said, what does that mean? The man's large. He can't be invisible. Yes, he was. Ricky Smith was hired to be a booth announcer, am I right? Ted would have to go chase him down. He'd go looking for Rick in the booth, never there. Where was he? Down in the news department. And that's where he ended up working and doing his best work. So, Ricky, we laugh with you this evening, and now I turn you over to Carmelita.
I know Ricky would be proud to know that he's still making a mark in this life. And also very proud of the fact that his hard work and dedication is still paying off. Ricky was a very talented, funny, larger-than-life character who never met a stranger. When I think of the impact his life had on others and just how many people really loved him, I am overwhelmed, uplifted, and humbled. Since I'm officially not in the broadcasting industry or a broadcaster, you can believe me when I tell you that we've actually saved the best for last. And believe me again when I tell you, I will be brief. So on behalf of our entire family, I thank you for keeping his legacy alive, and I thank you for celebrating with us tonight. Again, many thanks.